Hey guys, it's Matt again from Hedge, here to bring you another educational video. Now, I would say it's important you stay to the end so you can get all the information I'm about to give you. And one thing I gotta say is this is not financial advice. We do not accept liabilities for loss that you may incur. Everything here is strictly for news, research, and educational purposes. So, with that in mind, we'll be able to start this video and talk about what's happening. So, it's more or less just going to be like a little bit of like a general market update, and the market update is going to be specifically on President Biden's stimmy check that's coming out, or the stimulus package that's coming out. So in on October 18th, Janet Yellen basically mentioned that we're going to be, well, the US is going to be running out of money. So October 18th, US runs out of money. This is something that's happening, guys. So it's like the government is about to run out of money on October 18th. Where's all the money been going, by the way? Where's all the money that's been printed been going, right? So Trump printed out 7 trillion. That's nowhere to be seen. Went right into the stock market, 100%. Now, we had basically 2 billion pop up from Biden recently, and now he's basically putting out another 6. So that's 8 trillion that he's about to print on his total, basically like his total package. And one of the interesting things that he said is that his Build Back Better agenda is going to cost $0. Guys, come on. Where is that money going if it's costing $0? Who's paying for it? What's happening? First of all, one thing I got to say is when people print, specifically when the Federal Reserve and the central banks decide to print, and they're saying, oh, we're going to help you do all these things. You know, if it was actually going somewhere, that would be, that would be helpful. But the thing is as we've seen, whenever they print, it doesn't really go anywhere. The situation doesn't get better. Look at 2008. The situation didn't really get better. Look at after Trump printed. Nothing really got better. Do you really think that if they print now, it's going to get better? Because what happens is when they print, they're fixing the short-term problem. But the thing is that you're increasing the value of goods and assets around you. So to say that this is going to cost $0 and basically saying that instead of wasting money on tax breaks, loopholes, tax evasion for big corporations and all this stuff, he's basically wrapping up this sandwich, but inside this sandwich is basically shit, because he's full of shit. You can't just print $3.5 trillion and basically expect nothing to basically happen. That's going on your federal budget. You know what I mean? Like that is going to be another $3.5 trillion that they're going to raise the ceiling. And the interesting thing is they're talking about all these beautiful programs that they're going to be putting into. But the thing is like when they print money, most of the time it doesn't really go where it's supposed to go. So my take on this is that, the last stimmy check, the last stimulus package that came in, they didn't put it where it had to go. And now they realize, oh crap, we ran through the money a lot faster than we expected. And I wouldn't even be surprised if they were using that money probably to do things that are unrelated completely to the actual package. He's talking about infrastructure, but the thing that's complicated about infrastructure, and especially that we see in Montreal roads, especially because I understand infrastructure coming from this city and watching the construction. And it's like they're going to tell you, okay, this is the price. Then what's going to happen is they're going to constantly be going over budget, over budget, over budget, over budget, because the price that they're giving is not anything that actually, usually makes sense. And then what happens is like the taxpayer suffers. And I think that's more or less what you're going to see here is the taxpayer is going to suffer. Because if it's going to apparently add $0 to the national debt, either he's lying and he really is just doesn't know what he's talking about, which is very possible, or the alternative is they even mention here in the, what is it here, Forbes, they mention that Asian bankers hold the $3.5 trillion key to an economic boom, meaning that he's selling the debt to China or other Asian markets, excuse me. But that becomes a conundrum, because one thing you need to understand is if Asia is aggressively buying their debt, what do you think happens when they decide to dump that debt? Right there, that becomes a financial crisis. And they even mention it here, because this is actually what's interesting is Asia loves these high debt, these debt yields. They love it, right? But look right here. Any whiff that Japan or China is selling their dollar holdings would cause a financial earthquake. They're going to blow this dollar into confetti. We are going to see it printed to infinity. Because he started on this whole thing with 1.9 trillion, but it won't be enough. So what we're going to need is an extra 6 on top of that. So that's a total of 8 trillion that he's mentioned that he's going to print. Now, we're adding in now another 3.5 trillion, which is going to be, paid for by, China and Asia. And then what's going to happen, like a lot of other countries, specifically the ones that you see, like, for example, Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka had their ports developed by China, and then what ended up happening was they didn't realize, because, they didn't realize that taking on all this infrastructure debt would potentially lead to a debt trap. And what do you know about like something like a credit card? Credit cards are designed to put you in a debt trap so that you never leave and you pay interest forever while they own you, basically, or own your unsecured debt. Well, imagine what China and other Asian countries do is they aggressively buy your debt with infrastructure bills. So they make you take on debt with them to build infrastructure. And once they build that infrastructure, oh, you can't pay? It's okay. We'll just lease you your own property, your own land for 99 years, and China will just use it as we like. So that's just something to keep in mind, that if he takes that 3.5 trillion from foreign bankers, he's literally selling America to foreign interests. And that's, not good. Definitely not good. Especially for people that, believe in the American dollar and who actually wanted to succeed because they don't want their country, their countrymen to suffer. This is the beginning of something that could be an economic weapon against the U.S. Because if they take that, and then they decide to dump the dollar, the U.S. is going to be raising their debt ceiling and creating a huge bubble, a currency bubble. And that really brings me back to the point where I'm thinking that Bitcoin as a globalized currency is looking more and more solid. Because you see how this is a currency war, and that's because they're all using different currencies to mess with each other's interests. Whereas crypto is borderless and is for everyone, meaning that you can't attack someone with Bitcoin if everyone's using Bitcoin or using crypto, or all respecting a globalized currency system to some degree, because then it would be basically the war would affect you as well. Whereas this, if they decide to drop if they decide to drop the debt on America, and they take all these infrastructure plans from foreign aid and foreign investment, the day they dump the dollar, you'll see basically QE to infinity. It'll be like a snake eating itself. It would be a disaster. So it's a lot of information to take in, and you could more or less see it here that it's not that simple. It's not like the more they're raising the debt to help people. In theory, it's a beautiful idea. I would love to print $1 million zillion and help everybody. I wish I could. But the thing is, it doesn't work that way. So this is his first year in office. If he does that for 4 years straight, the American dollar is gone in 5 years. Maybe 10. Depends if he runs 2 terms spending on this basically caliber. You know, and this isn't necessary. I'm not trying to get political about this, but it's more a matter of like, unless you see the infrastructure being built and change, as far as I'm concerned, this is just a new phase putting money into Wall Street to feed the demon, basically. The demon that is the economy of America. Stock up on, you know, rice and pasta to all my American viewers. Definitely, you'll probably see price increases in food. Canada's already been talking about how we're going to go, like, we're going to have a lot of inflation on our food already. So I figure this is probably a good time to mention, like, guys, load up on canned goods, pastas, and rice, beyond just for financial reasoning. Like, as much as this is a financial channel where we talk about educating you guys for this shit, it's like, at the same time, I care about the viewer. Get canned goods, get some food, you know, prepare yourself a little bit, you know what I mean? Because they've already been talking about supply chains breaking down. And if the value of your money is going to keep dropping, you know, like, it's just an inevitability, scarcity. The can of food is worth more than the dollar at that point. There was a point where in Germany, people were using money to insulate their houses. And the thing that's complicated is it's not going to be a instant inflationary crisis. It's going to be actually a lot more complicated than that. It's going to be a deflationary crisis first. Because the governments have been telling people to deposit your money into the banking system, taking cash out of circulation. And the reason governments usually do that is because they need the cash. And the thing that's complicated is if they're printing money, why do they need the cash? Where's the cash going? And the thing is if everyone has their cash inside the system, and then it's going to end up it's going to be another thing like Greece, where when people put their cash in, it doesn't come out afterwards. And then everyone's going to be stuck on a system similar to Greece, where you're only able to take out like 20 euros a day. So they're basically collecting all their cash now because they know that there's going to be a squeeze on the actual amount of cash, which will cause a deflationary period. And then after that deflationary period, what's going to happen is if a supply chain breaks down again or something like that happens, then you're going to see deflation followed by heavy inflation. Just because eventually the scarcity of the goods will beat that of the dollar. So, yeah, that's definitely a possibility of things that we could see in the next few years. So, guys, hope you like this video. Like, comment, and subscribe, and take care.